Hello everybody, normal hair, no makeup here. We are going to do a not quite introductory lesson on introductory. We're going to do Voiicide's Guide to Music Theory, all of the shit you need to know. This is not a comprehensive theory lesson. I wouldn't even consider it a theory lesson. I'm going to talk about specifically the only stuff that I use in the stuff that I produce for Abstracted Records, for Hollow Again, Voiicide, Design Abstract. So, part 1, scales. What I have here is a new design. It doesn't matter. We're not going to get there yet. If you're playing the genre we do, if you're playing the design abstract of the genre, guess what? You only need to know 2 scales. She knows. I had to boot her out in one video because she just wouldn't shut the hell up. You only need to know 2 scales. Natural minor and Phrygian. There's only one note different. It's here. Almost everything we do, whatever scale it is determined by whatever tuning the guitar is in. It is very straightforward. If your open note on the lowest string is B, like this is, then guess what? You're in B minor or B Phrygian. The reason Phrygian sounds cool is because it's got the half step, which is like 0-1. It sounds really rockish, metalish. Since you're only using 2 scales, you can switch between them pretty easily. It's kind of fun. So for example, I don't do this a lot, but I do it enough. So the first part of this progression is in natural minor. Yeah, I know it's not an instrument, but you can see here that C is raised, and here it's lowered, and it's purely for dramatic effect. I'm going to play this and you'll see what I mean. So, using that flattened second is really fun to, it's just fun. It's dramatic. The thing is, that also doesn't follow classical rules, because the flattened second in classical is a Neapolitan chord, and there's a proper way to resolve it, and it's not just going back to the tonic. However, it sounds super cool. It's a super cool effect. That's kind of how to use that. We do have some songs that are just fully in Phrygian, a lot more in Hollow Again. I don't like writing in it as much. I don't like how strings sound as much in it, but like, that's a cool use for switching. This technically does switch between harmonic minor and Phrygian, but it's just because doesn't matter. Natural minor, it is natural minor, and Phrygian. But it's a very subtle version of it. If you've taken theory classes before, you know that there's actually 3 types of minor scales. There's natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor. And what they teach is that melodic minor is the 7ths, or the 6ths and 7ths are raised going up and lowered, flattened going down, like this. So when I learned that back when I was a young music man, my skepticism brain immediately went, well, what's up and what's down? Like, there's lots of situations where musically you're jumping around and there's no way to contextually determine what's going up or what's going down. Like, for example, if you're doing, like, I don't know, man, what if you need to go from these 2 notes to this? Which one do you pick? Like, so I asked my piano teacher at the time, I was like, when they say, do they just mean use whatever is appropriate in the context? And she was basically like, yeah, that's what it means. So the reason that I've picked this song is because it is a really great example of that. So here is a chord progression. You can see at the top the chords. The interesting thing to note, and sorry, we're working in B, not C, because I didn't feel like transposing everything. It's just, that's all design abstract is in B. It's easy. This chord, which is the 5th, which is important if you want to make a cadence, is minor the first time and major the second time, which means that the first time it's played here, the 7th of the scale, which is the 3rd of the chord, is flat, and the second time it's raised. I'm going to play it. You will hear it. You see how this chord feels like it needs to go somewhere? Like, that has tension. This, which is technically the same chord, it's on the 5th scale degree. It's dramatic because there's a shaky string thing, but that could go anywhere because that's just a minor chord. Like, it's the same as this. You can take it and doesn't matter. So I guess this brings us on to part 2, chords and how I use chords. In design abstract, I try to strike a balance between using a pop/pop metal progression, which tends to be in scale degrees like 1, 6, 4-ish, or the pop progression is 1, 6, 4, 5. It seems like metal is like 5 as much. I like striking a balance between that and progressions that follow classical rules. Side tangent number 1. So I really like music theory. There's rules that I follow and rules I don't follow. And if you want to write completely period accurate classical rule following metal, you're going to run into major problems, because if you pick up a guitar that's drop tuned and strum a chord, strum a chord and then strum a second chord, you've already broken, like, you know, Bach's angriest rule of parallel fifths. You don't do parallel fifths. That's like such a big rule in classical. But it's really fucking hard not to in metal and rock, because it's how guitars are tuned, and how, even if it's not drop tuned, how guitar chords are formed. There's a power chord underneath. Can I pull up something that sounds like that? Let me give you a visual aid. So even if you're not playing power chords, usually chords on guitar are built somewhat like this. With the root, 5th root, before the voices get a little more not fifths-y. But say you do something like this, which in metal and in guitar, that's literally just how to play guitar. Like, there's nothing more basic than that. But guess what? Parallel octaves, parallel fifths, you've already broken 2 rules of classical voice leading, so it's not going to happen. However, I think what's more important is that your voices... Why does it do that? Your voices don't necessarily have to not do parallel movement, though it does sound better in strings. But the more important thing is that you avoid motion that all sounds the same. So if you have a guitar strumming power chords, make your lead move the other direction every chord change. It doesn't matter what it is, just make it move in opposite direction. Chances are then you'll avoid a lot of parallel voicings, and it'll sound smarter. Anyway, that's one of the things. It's one of the side tangents. One of the tricks that I've been trying to utilize, I'm going to see if I can just make this up on the spot, is, actually, let me, why do you like this? B minor, G, A, B, C, sharp, A major, E, F, G, A, B, E minor. Okay, that is good. Okay, what we have here is a slightly modified but still very basic pop progression with Logan shredding over it the way he does best. Chords are up here. Now, I'm going to try to do this on the fly with no preparation because it's how I roll. One sort of interesting thing that I like to do, okay, I'm going to pull these down to strings really quick. I picked a stupid ass thing to try to do this with. Okay. So this is an infinitely looping pop progression. You can make an entire song out of this. Greater songs have been made with fewer chords. However, to give it that sort of classical edge, what I will do sometimes is take Logan's 4-bar progressions, let his parts loop, but then reharmonize the second half to sound smarter. Because with the bass, you know, he doesn't control what I play on bass. You can, to an extent, revoice those chords. So a fun way to do it to get more mileage is I'm going to treat this lower line like it's the bass, and then we'll pretend that this upper line is Logan. So Logan's part won't move because it's already recorded. But what you can do with the bass, for example, is take this chord and make it, well, it's still a B minor, but it's a third. Sorry, I have to mute. Lucas is shouting at me on the internet. Let's see. So we make this a third, so it's still technically a B minor. Logan is playing a G. So, you know, what chords have G in them? For example, that could be an E chord. That'd be fun. So instead of a sixth, now that's playing the third of a scale. I don't know if this is going to sound good. We'll see. A. What has an A in it? An F minor. Just for shits, I'm going to make this a D7. D, F, A, and C sharp. That's actually going to be really stupid, but I'm going to try it. Which resolves to G. G, A, B. But see, that's going to have a fourth in it. G. That work with just an augmented. I'm going to try this. So the first repetition is just the same. And then yeah. Now the thing is, those probably won't be audible over everything, but we'll give it a shot. Oh, actually we have to change some stuff. So these are super low end. You can tell, by the way, they're really low on the piano. And I need them to follow what the bass would do. That's how we're going to do this. So I recognize that. This was that. I'll check my memory for it. That was E. That was D. And this. Same with G. We'll check these right. Yeah. Let's see how this sounds. That last chord's a little crunchy because it's an augmented chord or whatever. But in general, for 4-chord pop progression, but in the orchestral stuff, it can sound way smarter. That's fun. God damn it. I just tracked a whole bunch of acolytes of entropy, and my voice is a little shot. I'm going to make this into 2 parts, I think, because I'm going to open a project file. So, okay. Part 1 is scales and chords and a few little fun ideas and shit that I do. I think part 2 and then part 2 is like keys and applied chords that transition between keys. Because if you're going to a new key, it's very rare you can just slam into a new key without any preparation, at least in this style. But this song doesn't modulate, and a lot of design abstract songs do. So I think I'll open up a different project file and make a part 2 that goes through that. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Yeah. Part 2 sometime.